Tough Tiffany's and titanium Timmies. Thicken your skulls with a dense layer of calcite. Apply a protective layer of adamantium to your hearts. And if you wanted a soft, comfortable experience, maybe you should have signed on to one of them other podcasts.
You know, it's nothing personal. It's just talk Tull to me.
I totally understand. I do the same thing to myself.
It's not you, it's me. No,
It's not you.
It's not you. It's
talk
Tull
Tull
to
to me. There we go. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Owen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are a rock and a hard place, the facts moans.
And this, my little unrequited loves, is talk Tull to me.
An iron-plated stomp in the hobnailed boots of prog rock in which nickel-cadmium Nick and unobtainium Omen will use the diamond-tipped drill bit of our minds to pierce the dense amorphous carbon sides of each and every track that research and development rock band Jethro Tull have ever extruded through a high-pressure hot nozzle. We will electro-galvanize the Dave Pegg pebble probes and pressurize the carbon contained in Martin Barr's guitar into an industrial-grade cubic zirconia. And if we can break the Mohs hardness scale with our oil-tempered steel sieve minds, we may just end up with a striation of love scratched into our granite hearts by the durable decrescendoist, the firmest of flautists, the stiffest of Scotsmen, the resilient raconteur, Ian, my inflexibility is my most charming feature, Anderson.
High Pressure Hot Nozzle was your screen name, right, in college?
Yeah. It's now my punk band.
Nice. And your stage name. It's your drag name.
It's a lot. It's really been, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It's universal. Yeah. Did you say decrescendo?
I did.
What's a decrescendo? Getting quieter?
Oh, you are onto it. These Latinate roots have got nothing on you. Yeah. Crescendo is I think the root is actually in the creche. I think that might mean to grow.
Probably the same as crest.
It might be.
Probably the same root, yeah.
Yeah. So that's to grow in volume, and then de crescendo is to ungrow. The opposite. So to get quieter.
Well, if we're talking Latin, I do have to call you on something.
Call me.
Since you brought it up. The singular of cubic zirconia is cubic zirconium.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
So zirconia is the plural.
Correct.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I will never go back to Latin America.
Yep. You know exactly who to blame.
Yeah. Nick, welcome back. This is an exciting episode for us today.
That it is.
And that is because we are at the post-penultimate track.
Yes, that Greek checks out. Yeah.
Of that Greek is yogurt. Of Nightcap, the unreleased, now very much released masters.
That is true. We are on the last track off of the last disc. Disc 2, track 18. This is Hardliner, ladies and gentlemen. Hardliner.
Before we determine how hard that line is, I just want to reflect on our time in Nightcap.
Yes, definitely. Let us do that.
How's it been?
Oh, you know. I don't remember if I was saying this in Discord. I think it was in Discord. I don't think it was in the podcast. But this disc 2 of Nightcap has really reached a point of it's its own album to me now. It's like War Child 2 is its own album. It's like, what else had a disc 2? Broadsword. Broadsword had a lot, not Broadsword.
There's the Broadsword re-release.
Right, there's the Broadsword re-release, which had a fair amount. I'm thinking Heavy Horses. Heavy Horses had a lot of new songs as well that really I can just listen through the whole thing and maybe get a repeat here and there. But for the most part, it's got its own feel, its own atmosphere.
Right.
This really is at that level too.
You know, it's interesting because it sounds like your experience is that it feels somewhat cohesive.
Yes. I think so. Yeah.
I've been kind of feeling a little bit like this album for me has sort of been like being at the airport where you don't really know what time it is. You're disoriented.
Yeah.
You're drinking, but it doesn't matter that it's 10 a.m. It's just like because the songs are all from different years and it's jumping back and forth within that process, I feel a little bit like, yeah, we're here.
Yeah, you just go with it. You roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I admit it's super hodgepodge. When you take the years that the songs came out into account, it kind of makes sense in terms of sonics. But even so, we heard some like 2 or 3 songs from 91 and they sound way different from one another. 2 or 3 songs from 89 and they sound way different from one another. So you can't really pinpoint this is this era album. And I think that's what makes it cohesive to me is it's like, this is a potpourri and we get a couple that sound like this and a couple that sound like this and a couple that sound like this. And it's enough of a mixture and enough of a broadsword span of them. And they're spread out enough.
Yeah.
Dispersed that it feels like it works.
Yeah, it's almost, you know how the Tull effect is that if you listen to one album and listen to the next album, they don't sound anything alike necessarily because they've almost thrown out the aesthetic and started from scratch. This is almost the reverse of that in that because it's so scattered, you end up with similar sounds enough times because it's still Tull.
Right.
And that provides a level of cohesion to the collection. It's a collection. It's not an album that was made in one time and place. It is more of a broad spectrum analysis. It is a constellation rather than a star.
It's more like a traditional album, quote unquote, than what we're normally accustomed to with Tull. From someone other than Tull, you know, like Weezer or Bare Naked Ladies or whatever, you know.
It's a reverse concept album.
Which is just an album.
Yeah, provide your own it's a BYO concept album.
Nice. I like it.
Anyway, what do we have the pleasure of listening to today, this very final track here?
So this is Hardliner. This was 89.
Yes, 89. The year that Taylor Swift was born.
Lest we forget. To put it in chronological importance, 87 was Crest, 89 was Rock Island, and 91 was Catfish.
Okay, so this could have been in consideration for Rock Island.
It's possible.
If it was written at the same time.
Yeah. Sonically, I'm not quite sure. Personnel, we are kind of light on this one. So this was recorded in Ian's home studio. We've got Martin Barr on electric guitar, Dave Pegg on backing vocals and bass guitar, and that is all that's credited.
Yeah, it's just a skeleton crew here, which is kind of exciting, a minimalist. Just to remind us of the songs on Rock Island from the same year, 1989. Kissing Willie, Rattlesnake Trail. The Rattlesnake Trail! Freaking love that one. Ears of Tin, Undressed to Kill.
Mm-hmm.
When you meet the eyes of a working girl, undressed to kill. This is the Rock Island mega mix.
Did you listen to that recently?
No, I'm just looking at it. Rock Island, Heavy Water. I walked out in the cities now, burning in my eyes like it was broad daylight. Another Christmas song. The Whalers' Dues. Ooh. Can you forgive me?
Wow, you have such a good memory for these songs.
Big Riff and Mando, Strange Avenues. Wow, so much better album than I remember when we were listening to it at the time. It's like nostalgia has kicked in.
Yeah, thinking back on them, and it's like, oh yeah, I did like that song.
Yeah. Thank you for the compliment on my memory. You know, something in there has to stick, and I guess it's
Tull songs.
Major riffs from songs, yeah.
Right.
So let's see how Hardliner fits in to that melange.
Let's see how it caps off this album.
Night caps off
this album.
Was that intentional? Did you do that on purpose?
Did not.
Wow. That is raw, oozing talent.
I can't not be good.
We should divert that talent to a water treatment facility, but we don't have the infrastructure. It's so raw.
Omen.
Nah.
Hardliner.
Rock and roll.
Not a soft one. It's hard.
No.
It's a hard one.
No, it really, it's hard rock. I mean, it's like you said, it's coming off the heels of Crest, moving into Rock Island. Mm-hmm. It's actually funny, listening to this through the Rock Island lens, this song totally could have been on that album.
I could see it in parts, definitely, yeah.
You know, it's got the kind of like, yeah, relationships are tough type vibe to it. Mm-hmm. It's got the hardness. It's got the alienation. Mm-hmm. It's a total Rock Island baby.
Particularly the closer for me, the closeout is like, that is quintessential poster child Rock Island closing, just sonically.
Absolutely.
Kind of a fade out and this is what's happening.
Yeah. Let's talk about the music.
Yeah.
So I think that we might actually have some uncredited musician on here because even though a drummer is not listed, we definitely have drums in this song.
And it's not a drum machine.
I don't think it's a drum machine. I mean, what year was A? And what was the other one that had the big
1542.
drum?
Under Wraps?
Under Wraps. Yeah, what years were they? I suppose it's possible that the drum machine could have evolved.
Under Wraps was 84, Broadsword was 82, A was 80.
So in the space of 5 or 6, 7 years, could the drum machine have evolved to sound this good? Maybe.
It's possible.
But it sounds very human to me.
Yeah. There's too much character and variation, I think, to it.
Yes, exactly. I was going to call it dynamics, but yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah. My stupid, uneducated assessment of it. There's character and things change.
Wow, that sounds like negative self-talk, and I thought we had an agreement that you'd be punished.
Hey,
if you engaged in that.
Hey, I won't let you talk to my best friend like that.
That's right. No, you're right. It does have character, and that is what's lacking from Drumatron is that sense of a soul.
It's the set it and forget it feeling that you get with Drumatron.
This drumming feels like it has an opinion on the song and on the material.
Right, and politics.
Yeah. It's got recurring gout. But it's not going to let that stop it.
Yeah. It really hurts to use the bass drum, but it's worth it.
But, yeah.
So yes.
So definitely
a drummer. Yeah.
If we're going from the assessment of, like, if we were looking at this from a Rock Island perspective, who would that be? It would have been Mr. Doane Perry.
Oh, it is Doane. Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this is Doane. Yeah, I could hear a Doane-ness to it.
It has a Doane feeling to it. It has one of the things that I appreciate about Doane Perry, if this is in fact him, but in general, is the way that he mixes the different tones of the drums. Mm-hmm. Like he adds in a lot of those kind of richer, plummier drum sounds.
Is it really silly and pretentious and probably all wrong to say, like, he plays like an American drummer?
Why not? I mean, you can say anything you want. Is he American? He is, isn't he?
He is, yeah. California, I think.
And that is part of America.
Last I heard,
yeah,
they're still here.
I would not bet money on it being Doane Perry, but that is simply because I don't prefer gambling.
Because I am broke.
Because I don't have any. But if you'd lend me $5, I would bet on it, and then
happily
you'd make it all back.
Oh, perfect. You double it, really.
I mean, yeah. Now it's double or nothing because I got the first one wrong.
The first sound we hear, that like tinka 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 tinka.
Oh.
Is that a guitar? A slight like little something going on the guitar? Because we do have like some serious Martin stings coming in very soon after that, but the tinka stays.
The tinka stays.
Everything goes but the tinka. So is it like a weird synth setting, or is it some sort of noodle on the guitar?
It's a great question. I am not sure, because I think that we actually have that rhythm coming back at various times.
Mm-hmm.
My initial thought was that it's actually Peggy on the bass.
Oh, I didn't think it was that deep. Could be. I'm going to listen. Hang on.
No one ever thinks it's that deep.
No one knows the depths. Hang on just a sec. No, Peggy's going boom, 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 boom. But there's also ticka, 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 ticka.
So maybe that is Martin.
I think it is a guitar. That Martin's underlying guitar with his stinging over the top.
Oh, okay.
That tinka really reminds me of Don Henley's Boys of Summer for some reason. It's not, Don Henley is much more synthy.
Okay.
But there's something there that has that feel. And that feel kind of comes back at occasional times throughout the song. And Boys of Summer was 84. So this is a bit later.
Oh, okay.
But there's something
in the water. There's something relevant.
Something synthy about it that really feels, and it's soft and it's emotional and
Good song.
The whole feel of the ba, 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 that whole thing, it feels like it is very similar to that.
Yeah. What you're describing as the ticka ticka or the tonka tonka.
Tinka.
Badonka donka.
The badonka.
I believe they are 30-second notes. So
oh yeah.
If a measure is 1, 2, 3, 4, those would be the quarter notes. If you break that down further, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, the eighth notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4, those are 16th, and then okay, so maybe those are 16th notes that we're hearing.
Yeah.
1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
They're 16th notes, but they give a lot of drive and a lot of feeling to this song.
Yeah. But they're still soft. There's a softness, an underlying softness. It's not a chuggy feeling that we're getting here. It's not a locomotive breath. It's not something that is inexorably trudging forward. It's like walking on a very deep plush shag carpet.
It gives me the feeling that there is something internally motivating the song, like an internal human emotion driving the song forward, rather than a big external set of circumstances.
That fits.
It's a song about feelings.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
For a frickin' change.
About time. Women and feelings. Yeah. Aside from Boys of Summer, I also hear like a little Journey or a little Sting feeling. Just that synthiness, you know?
So we've mentioned the synth now a couple of times. No keys players credited on this track.
No, and I don't think there is a synth in this, to be honest.
Oh,
is there?
Oh, I think there is.
Oh, okay.
There's definitely a keyboard of some kind.
Okay.
We definitely at least hear it in the outro. It's very evident there. I actually think that it might be all the way through. I think that because there's so much going on in the forefront with the guitar and the bass and the drums.
And the flute. And
Ian singing. I think that there are some tones being played in the background that could be synth. It could also be that the bass is like impacting on itself, like compounding on its own self, and that the reverb is kind of creating that sense of a drone. Interesting, yeah. But we definitely have it at the end, and I think I noticed it a couple times throughout.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Ian found a drummer and a keyboardist on the streets. They were homeless, so he could kill them afterwards, not give them credit, and they're the mystery musicians of the song.
Do you know that there's a Bob Dylan album that predominantly features a really amazing violin, and he literally saw the person playing on the street and was like, "I like your style, can play on my album."
That does not surprise me one bit.
It's a great album too.
Yeah. Does he sing on it?
Unfortunately, he does.
Yeah, it sounds terrible, actually.
No, it's great. What album is it? Desire.
What year?
76.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'll look it up and not listen to it.
Donna Shea, also known as Scarlet Rivera.
Ooh, there's a drag name for you too. What was the other one? Vivarium Falcon? What was it? Valeria Falcon.
Valeria Falcon. It's now appearing in House of the Dragon. Okay, so we have some mystery players, we have some mystery musicians, but overall the effect of this song is thick and heavy rock and roll, fast, big thick drums. Oh, you know what this reminds me of? You feel it reminds you of Don Henley. This reminds me of Andrew Lloyd Webber. Like, there is a sense of this. I think it's the way that he's singing it and the way that the guitar lines have that very like late 80s feel.
Okay.
It's like, is this Phantom? Is this like a missing song from Phantom? Is this the dark second act part of Starlight Express?
I am not in any way familiar enough with Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber's works to... Yeah, he's knighted, isn't he?
Lord. I think it's just Sir.
Oh, Sir. That's right, Sir. Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber's works to familiarize.
We folks who have titles take that kind of thing pretty seriously.
Yeah, you got to differentiate. I'm sorry, Count Omen Thomas Sade.
Yeah. His Excellency.
Your Excellency, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's there. I don't know. I trust you. I rambled for the last 15 minutes about synthy sounds, and I didn't think there was a synth in here, so who the am I to judge?
There's just kind of there's a late 80s electric theatrical angst to this.
There is a theatricality, yeah.
That reminds me a little bit of that late 80s Andrew Lloyd Webber, kind of like the mainstreaming of rock musicals vibe.
Okay, yeah. Yep. I get that. In the very beginning, after the Tinka Tinkas, when Martin's electric comes to the forefront as well.
Yes.
Ian jumps in with flute very quickly after that, and they weave in and out. It's so rare that they're playing that same phrase together. Normally it's one takes the front and one kind of wangs on in the back or vice versa, but they're serpentine here. They're going in and out and really working with one another as opposed to one accompanying the other.
It actually does remind me a little bit of Heavy Water. I know we'd mentioned that with Rock Island, but that is another instance where we have Martin plays that great riff. And throughout that whole track, there's a lot of weaving in and out of the flute and the guitar, if I recall correctly, which I might not.
I believe you. I trust you on that one. Feels right.
I don't have the energy to look things up and prove you wrong.
I'll take it. That's what has gotten us this far.
That has been a path to success for us, yeah.
If you keep your bar for success very low.
If you define success under narrow parameters.
Fiercely average.
There's a great breakdown starting at 145. At around 157, we get those 16th notes in a little bit of a different tone, coming back with a little more frontal, maybe a little bit more overtly guitar. At 345, that's the start of the keys taking us out. We have some nice riffage there.
Yeah, it's good for your diet, riffage.
It's so good.
Cleans you out. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, this is a dramatic, serious feeling, heavy rock and roll sound. Ian vocally is bringing the heavy metal, the Tull version of heavy metal.
We get some instances of goat voice again. I feel like it's been a while since we've heard goat voice.
Okay.
When he says, "Witch's brew," he definitely gets goat voice. Scares me with the witch's brew.
Scares me with the witch's brew.
Very gruff in his voice in this one. It's that alone puts it back in those last couple of albums, Rock Island and such.
Contrary-wise, whereas in some of the previous albums we had a lot of, we're coming out of the early to mid 80s era of the strong vocal ejaculations.
Right. He goes to the much more subdued goat voice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And even where we do have an O, it's more of a internalized oh.
Yeah, right.
And less of a oh.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, I'm loving here.
Hey, Will Smith is taking inspiration for his upcoming early 90s albums. Oh.
Why, does he do a lot of O's?
A lot of his early albums are like, hey, oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And now I'm going to rap for a little bit, but very cleanly.
So your children can listen.
Ha. Zoons.
Touchstone rapping.
Besmirch.
So there is a lot. This is a very busy song musically. Instrumentally, I feel like there's a lot going on.
Maximalist.
But there's something about it. I don't know if it's because even though it's clearly a heavy rock song, there's a softness to it. I put an extra T in there for some reason. There's a softness to it that it feels like it's a slightly simpler sound. And I'm not, and in no way am I saying like, oh, that's like a simple sound, but like there's something like deceiving about this song.
It is maximalist, but it is pure.
Yeah. I want that on my tombstone.
Your 70-foot tall tombstone?
Yeah, an obelisk, please.
Yeah. No, they're really, you're right. There is something that it feels deceptively like, whether you think it's complicated or whether you think it's simple, you're wrong.
I think ultimately what it really lends to is if you took away half of the instruments, it would still be a really solid kick-ass song.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
And even though there are a lot of disparate elements musically, they're all working toward that common goal of
angst.
It's all very focused and concentrated to support that one emotion, and it does it.
Yeah. So how does this song wrap up this album for you sonically? You've been now fully experienced the quilt that is Nightcap Disc 2. Were you expecting this sound? Have you heard any of this sound prior to this in this album? How does it feel to you to fit in, if it does, from what we've heard? Or is it just that perfect, like, this is a bowl of granola and I found an almond over here and this is a dried cherry?
I don't know that it does wrap up the album for me. But now seeing the album as a total piece, I think that this is a good one to end on because it reminds us that the through line of all these disparate sounds is rock and roll, baby.
Yeah.
And this song does have a couple of little prog elements to it. You know, there's subtle, you wouldn't necessarily be like, ooh, the prog. Oh,
right.
But, oh, hey,
it's prog rock over here.
I'm rapping about prog. Remember to brush your teeth.
Kiss your mommy goodnight and say your prayers.
That's that's it. You got it. Will Smith, are you in the call with us?
Oh, embarrassing.
Yeah, some of the tracks on this album, I've been like, yeah, it's a Jethro Tull song. I don't know that I would really listen to this, but
yeah.
But I actually do want to now go back and familiarize myself with this album as an album, because that's something that I haven't done up to this point.
Yeah.
And this song, ending on this song, makes me curious to go back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. This is really good rock and roll.
Yeah, I think sonically it really does work as a closer.
Yeah.
We've had these crests and waves and these lighter songs, harder songs, passionate, less so. And then we end with this really soulful song that the last 20 seconds really does this solid, satisfying fade out of an ending.
Yes.
Not even a full fade out per se, but just like it winds down. And I feel like that really works as a closer to an album. Whether that was intended or not, I think it acts as a great button.
We have to remember that this is not an album in concept. Like these songs were not written for an album. This is essentially a work of curation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which is tough. We remember seeing the British Museum. Curation is not easy.
Yeah.
And this album could easily feel like the British Museum's Grecian Urn collection, which is just like, look at how many motherfucking Jethro Tull songs we have.
Yeah.
This one is from the Red era.
Yeah.
Continue walking into the next room where you will see some more Grecian fucking urns.
Yeah.
But saying, how are we going to arrange these songs? And I do think that that's something I feel like I'm in the beginning of the journey of. How about you? How do you think this, as an album, how do you think this functions?
I like it. I think I summed it up pretty good in the beginning. I like it as that quilt. I think it really does work as that variety. It really works well in the sense that I want to listen to Tull, but I don't want to be invested in an entire overarching story theme. You know, this allows you to put this on and be like, okay, I've got this one, and then this one's coming up, and this one will lighten it up, and then we'll get a little darker here. I think that's a nice, probably unintended consequence of this curation of this album. Is it's putting Tull on shuffle almost.
Whoa, putting Tull on shuffle. Yeah, I like that. It is kind of, don't worry. You don't have to listen to it and be like, am I listening to it correctly? Like, do I get the concepts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just today, interesting tie-in to the curation of an album. Saturn V dad, Jeff Hoppe, shared with me an article written by Colin Malloy on his Substack. Colin Malloy is the lead in the Decemberists.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They just put out a new album last week, I think, 2 weeks ago. Very good. Recommended. Listen. But in the article, he was saying, like, people like vinyl again. And he kind of went on and like how crazy it is and how he grew up and it was cassettes and then he was okay to move to CDs, but now everyone's back to vinyl. And that played a massive part on the order of the album.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That makes me so happy.
This album was written, for all intents and purposes, to be on MP3s, not even on CDs. To be on MP3s, but they knew for a fact that they had to make a vinyl. They were going to make a vinyl. So how does this lineup of songs work to fit onto vinyls?
That's something that we've talked about so much on this podcast, that the medium really dictates, it gives you the form.
Yeah.
And I feel like musicians have a little bit, music has slightly lost its way in this era of there is no form.
Right.
It becomes formless, and that's a bit dull.
Right. You can release an album and then 3 days later release the same album with 3 new songs on it.
You can do that and then release shortly after that the remix with Lord, the remix of the track where you dissed Lord, but now you can do the remix with Lord and make up with each other. Work it out on the remix.
You can do that. Yeah.
Can do that. And that's beautiful. I love that. But I'm a person who likes structure. And I think that structure is good for artists.
Yeah.
That's a great example of the intersection of mediums that we're in at this moment.
The plural of medium is media. That being said, we see examples of Tull vinyl just in the past 2 decades, 3 decades, where the vinyl didn't have all of the tracks. The CD had some additional tracks because it would be absurd to put out half of an album.
Well, now I think what people typically do is, I saw this with one of Katie's Taylor Swift albums. Taylor Swift released an album where it was like, it's literally like 4 vinyls. It's massive. It's just this huge collection. Because it didn't fit neatly, most of the sides have quite a bit of blank space in the center. So it's like track. Instead of using up all the available space of every single, millimeter of vinyl that you could, there's like quite a bit of dead space toward the center. And that's so that they could get it evenly onto a number of albums without having that one blank side.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I love that artists are now having to make decisions about this, and I love that there are artists who are being like, actually, let's think about this before we record. That is cool. We did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a surprise that the Decemberists did, and Chaperone did not.
Well, I think part of the issue with Chaperone is they probably realized, oh my God, we need to have a vinyl quickly.
Right, yeah.
Put it into production.
Yeah.
With her blowing up. But we'll talk more about that on an upcoming Feckless.
July 15th. I wonder if this will drop after that. So become a Tull Skull Plus member and get access to that past Feckless.
Yeah, that retro Feckless.
Retro Feck.
Retro Feck! Nick!
Omen!
Hello!
Hello.
And welcome to the end of album party. Woo!
So I just want to really quick talk one thing. We've got a little missive from James.
Yeah.
Just today.
A saucy missive.
2 hours ago, almost to the nose, James writes in and says, just listen to Crew Nights, ... This is the info that you need for this little mystery, ... And it's a link to vintage adult magazines, specifically showing Razzle.
Yes.
The Razzle magazine and the...
And can I read some of the headlines that are on this?
Can I explain why he showed us pornography before we get into it?
Please explain to me and explain to our listeners why James Duncan Anderson has sent us softcore pornography through the internet.
So going to vintageadultmagazines.co.uk/Razzle. Razzle is a British pornographic magazine featuring softcore pornography. It was founded in 1983 and is published by Paul Raymond Publications. It currently focuses on girl next door style pornography, offering cash for any photos of readers' wives.
Mm-hmm.
Readers' wives. So
in parentheses.
Quotes, in air quotes. So he is providing, I think Jupson wrote in not too long after the drop of that episode and schooled us and said he was shocked that you didn't know the reference of Readers' Wives, but he did not show his work like James did and send us the link to Razzle.
Yeah, so the image that we have, it looks pretty vintage. It says Razzle, 60 pence. That should give you an indication of the year. There is presumably the wife of a reader.
Or a girl next door.
Or a girl next door, not next on my door. She is a blonde, nice-looking woman
The hair tells me it's like 70s.
70s or early 80s, yeah. It's all feathered out. I would say 80s.
Yeah.
She's licking her own shoulder for some reason.
Nothing saucier than that.
And the headlines are girls wrestling, good old striptease, big boobs, and shower lust.
Sums it up right there.
Everything you need for an entertaining night on the road.
That's right. Readers' Wives.
So the fact that the party didn't have Readers' Wives was an indication that this magazine, Razzle, and its similar magazines were not needed.
Exactly.
It's great. Thank you, Jupson, for alerting us to this. Thank you, JDA, for sending us the live fire version of this. And I'm going to be firing some live ones off tonight. Yeah, great.
And then finally, just as this is the last track off of the album, I don't have the physical vinyl of this one. This is like the only vinyl I'm missing. But I wanted to talk album art real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've only got kind of a blown up image of the front. I don't know what we've got for inserts or back or anything like that. But the front, we have Jethro Tull and some really nice script at the top. We've got a picture of presumably a whiskey bottle of some kind, one of the flat kinds.
Sure.
So it's a little bit. And on it, it's got an old timey black and white like print photo on the label of the whiskey bottle. I can't quite tell what it is. I can hover over it. Is it a guy peeing on a wall? I cannot tell. Or dude, oh no, it's a farmer because there's a horse head and a dog and a pitchfork. He still looks like he's peeing on the wall though. Aside from that, beneath that, we've got Nightcap, the unreleased masters, 1973 to 1991. And it says 100% volume, double CD, 2 CD. And this is made up to look like a liquor bottle label. Yeah. And on the bottom, it says distilled, blended, and bottled by J. Tull and Co.
Huh. Yeah, nice and simple. Like you said, black background, just a screw-off bottle of hooch.
Screw off that bottle of hooch.
Presumably not released on vinyl, or at least not designed to be released on vinyl.
Not initially, yeah.
Really just a cheap and cheerful CD-ROM.
Not the ROM part.
No, not that. I thought ROM was CD's last name.
I don't know CD-ROM. What does the ROM stand for? Read-only memory. Yeah, it is a CD-ROM. Yeah.
Wow.
That was before they were rewritable, so you couldn't burn things.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the difference is whether it's burnable or not.
So that's nice. We have that lovely art there. What else? What else have we got?
That's it. It was just those two.
Nick McGill, I have just finished hand fanning my hard drive.
That is not a euphemism, ladies and gentlemen. I watched him do it. Well, I mean, I guess me watching it doesn't preclude it not being a
it makes it worse.
But yeah.
A hard liner. What do we mean when we say hard liner, typically?
I mean, I don't know it as a typical phrase. Do you?
I always hear it in politics. Oh, they're a hardliner.
Oh, okay.
They're somebody who doesn't budge from their position,
right,
even if it's in the interest of the country or even their own interests.
Yeah, they stick to something that they feel passionate about, or they're for whatever reason they have a position and they're staying there. They're sticking with it.
It's almost the same phrase as man of principle.
Oh yeah.
Except that man of principle is usually used in a positive light, right, whereas hardliner is usually used if you're talking about your opponents.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, he's such a hardliner, he would never compromise to make this deal happen.
Right. Doesn't have to necessarily be negative, but more often than not it is.
Yes, doesn't necessarily. The phrase itself doesn't imply that necessarily, but I think that is the way it is used typically.
Gotcha. Okay. So that is both the title and the first two words of this song, Hardliner.
Hardliner. She brings ice when I bring fire. She's a hardliner. Tightrope cross Niagara. She'd cut the wire and never feel a thing.
Hardliner. She brings ice when I bring fire. She's a hardliner. Tightrope cross Niagara. She'd cut the wire and never feel a thing.
Interesting scansion here. Interesting rhyme structure.
Mm-hmm.
Fire, Niagara, wire, but that's not the end of the line.
Right. And liner. I think liner is probably a soft rhyme as well.
The softest of rhymes.
Oh, it's supple. It's so supple.
It's like a cashmere rhyme. She brings ice when I bring fire. I mean, elemental contrast. What do you make of it?
I think, yes. Yeah, on the most basic of levels, it's that elemental. They are utter and exact opposites.
Yeah.
But it's also the levels of passion in the relationship. He's so madly in love with her. He's bringing the heat, the passion. He's bringing the fuego. And she's just like, no, thank you.
She's shutting it down. She's giving the cold shoulder. Right. Yeah, she's, as Shakespeare would have said, thou marble-breasted tyrant.
I've heard him say that often, yeah.
12th Night, Act 5. Now, so that sort of like is a trope that we're familiar with. Like, oh, she's a cold woman.
Yeah, right.
The next line gets a little bit more interesting. Tightrope cross Niagara, she'd cut the wire and never feel a thing. Oh, okay, wait a minute. We're on a slightly different level.
Yeah.
So what's the tightrope cross Niagara?
I think it's allegorical of If I were walking this tightrope to get to her, she would cut it and wouldn't care, in the sense that she has no interest in me, so much so that she will prevent me from getting to her, but also still put on that air of like, not interested. There are two levels here.
Yeah. Speaking of tightrope walking across the Niagara Falls, that was accomplished most recently, it seems, in 2012. And before that, it had been 100 years more since somebody had successfully done it.
Was it Nick Walendez? Was that his name?
Yes, Nick Walenda.
Yeah.
Of the Flying Walendas,
Yeah.
a famous circus family.
Yeah. 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, after the song came out.
I bet.
He probably was like, I was inspired by a hard line of Jethro Tull off of Nightcap, the unreleased masters.
It's track 18 off of disc 2.
It's track 18, the drummer's unlisted.
Recorded
Let's
in
go!
1989.
I'm going to walk on the tightrope. Yeah, so there's a cruel side to it.
Right, yeah.
And almost a psychopathic to be able to cut the wire and never feel a thing.
Right, yeah.
Moving on to the next line, walked the sidewalk of another strange avenue.
Strange Avenue.
Kicked my heels and wished my feet were in some other shoes. But I'm not running from that hard liner.
Walk the sidewalk of another strange avenue. Kick my heels and wish my feet were in some other shoes. But I'm not running from that hard liner.
A little bit of Dorothy going on here. Like, that's what this makes me think of. Is he saying that he's kicking his heels together and wishing he was home while he's out on some strange avenue?
Interesting.
Or is he promenading the strange avenues and thinking, I wish I didn't have to go home to that horrible woman.
No, I don't think that either.
But I'm not running.
No, I think there's still a spring in his step. He's not defeated. He's not giving up. And he wishes he was in the shoes of a man who was with her.
Oh.
Yeah.
It really is. It's got a lot of possible interpretations to that line.
Yeah. And he's not running from her. He's running to her. Meaning he's not afraid. He has not yet given up.
I kicked my heels and wished that my feet were in some running shoes so I could run to her faster.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Roller skates.
People see me running in the world and they're like, oh, he's running away from that woman. No, I'm running to her.
To her.
I do love the image in my mind of Ian Anderson in ruby slippers.
He's wearing them right now.
These are my podcast listening kitten heels. We go back to a kind of a proto-chorus. Well, she brings ice when I bring fire. She's a real hardliner. How does she retain my desire? It's a funny thing.
My hard desire.
How does she retain my hard desire?
How does she retain my hard desire?
Wow, that's a little bit suggestive.
Suggestive.
It's suggestive.
It is not that veiled of a suggestion. But I mean, we've reached this point where he's like, I cannot explain why I'm in love with her. Lest we forget, she's the ice and I'm the fire. But why? What is there that she has over me?
I feel like we've had a very similar theme in songs recently.
Yeah? Of that unrequited passion?
That semi-requited passion.
It's just a semi-requite. Nothing springs to mind.
Oh, Sleeping with the Dog.
Oh, well, how recent was that?
I was Catfish Rising.
Okay.
So 1991. So in the real timeline, that is a little bit after this,
right.
But in our timeline, we talked about it, earlier this year.
Feels like we recorded that episode in 1991.
Yeah. But it's something, yeah, exactly. But it's something it's a theme that we've not heard before.
Right. But Sleeping with the Dog is more like, I'm with this person already and I messed up.
Right. This is, interesting. So you don't feel like this song implies that they're together?
Oh, no. I never thought that. Have you been operating under that premise?
Why don't we keep going and discover if there are any textual clues?
Please.
Knows what she wants, knows how to get it too. Scares me with the cold logic, scares me with the witch's brew. But I'll keep on drinking hard cider.
Knows what she wants, knows how to get it too. Scares me with cold logic, scares me with the witch's brew. But I keep on drinking hardliner.
Nothing definitive there.
No.
She's a powerful woman. We know Ian has a type.
Mm-hmm.
She is logical. She has magical powers, and he wants to keep drinking that scary juice.
Right. All allegorical, she's cold, but she makes me want her, whether she intends to or not.
Her coldness inflames me.
Yeah.
We move on to the proto-chorus. Hardliner! I'm framed and I'm hanging on the wall. She's a hardliner. I'm like some big game trophy hat stand in the hall.
Hardliner. I'm framed and I'm hanging on her wall. She's a hardliner. I'm like some big game trophy hat stand in the hall.
Okay, this is where I think they're together.
Okay.
Because it's like, clearly she has mounted him as a trophy.
Yeah, he's been domesticated or slain and turned into a trophy, something along those lines. Yeah.
Trophyized, fetishized. She's like, oh, this is my emotional support conquest. Which one could say that he is one of many trophies. One could read into this that he is one of many stuffed heads on the wall.
Yeah.
But we don't know either way.
Yeah, I wish I could give you a concrete, well, this falls more on my opinion of them not being together, but I can't really make it scan. However, it doesn't concrete prove to me that they're together either.
And neither does the next line, unfortunately. But I remember this. So here's the classic 3/4 of the way in Ian rupture. But I remember warm and loving nights, her red hair, restaurants, swaying masthead lights. It's a funny thing.
But I remember warm and loving nights. Your head restaurants, swaying masthead lights. It's a funny thing.
Maybe she hasn't always been a hardliner. Maybe she lured him in with the soft liner.
Fabric softener.
Fabric softener, that's it. And because he has those memories, he can't ever break out of the situation now that it's turned hard.
Despite where it currently is, he is still enthralled.
Yeah. Which some might read into it and say that this is kind of the textbook layout of an abusive relationship, but
who is the victim?
Us, for having to listen to him whine about it. No, one typical way that abusers work is that they lavish people in the early stages. They lavish them with affection, and then they start laying down the rules and say, well, as long as you follow all of these rules, then you'll have this wonderful unconditional love that you've already had.
See, to me, he seems like a stalker at this point. I think it's the other way around.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That the relationship is over. They've had the warm nights, restaurants, red hair, and now she's cut him off, and he's like, I'll still come back to you, no matter how many times.
He won't take no for an answer, yeah.
Interesting. Then we go on hardliner. Yeah, she brings the ice when I bring fire. Hardliner, tightrope, cross Niagara. Don't cut my wire.
Tightrope, cross Niagara, don't cut my wire.
Right, yeah, that's a little change up from that first verse where saying she would cut the wire. Now he's asking her not to.
And then we have a couple more variations. Well, she brings the sun when I bring rain. Yeah, she's a real hardliner. Yeah, we've got it all crossed up again. Hardliner. Now I don't think we can stay in the same town.
Well, she brings sun when I bring rain. She's a real hardliner. Yeah, we got it all crossed up again. Hardliner. Now I don't think we can stay in the same town.
That's where I think that there's more of an ongoing relationship. Because previously we've had him bringing the fire, her bringing the ice. Then it changes. He's bringing the rain, she's bringing the sun.
Yeah. Maybe that's just in his opinion, like, oh, I'm so mopey and depressed, but when I see her, she clears everything up. Just her presence, just him seeing her through the windows at 3 a.m. sleeping, peeking through the curtain. The sun comes out because he gets to see her.
What light through yonder window pane?
Breaks.
What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun.
Arise, fair sun.
Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief that you, her maid, are far more fair than she.
You say I have a better memory than you, and I very much disagree.
Well, you have a better memory for useful things.
Like what?
I don't know.
D&D rules?
I'm not in your brain. So I think the hardliner is one facet of the diamond of this relationship, because we get implied some of the other facets of it with those last couple of lines.
That she brings the sun?
Yeah. She's not just bringing the ice, she's bringing the sun. So maybe he doesn't like some of her policies, but some of her policies, some of her hard lines are, if you're acting dumb and mopey, I'm going to cheer you up. Otherwise, how does it fit in?
I think the way I said it, that he is dumb and mopey, and then when he sees her across the street when she's at a Starbucks and he's standing behind a mailbox, the sun comes out for him.
So what do you think about the lines, yeah, we've got it all crossed up again, and I don't think we can stay in the same town?
Well, definitely the I don't think we can stay in the same town is finally some bit of logic coming into his mind. He's like, this is clearly not going to happen, and I cannot see you, so I have to not see you.
We can't stay in the same town as per the judge's order.
I am legally obliged to leave and not get any closer than 300 yards.
We've got it all crossed up again. That could be, oh, officer, this was all just a big misunderstanding. You see, the reason I was going through her trash is, or it could be in the relationship, we've got our wires crossed.
And we had a miscommunication. We got into a fight again.
We had a miscommunication, and now I've written a song about it.
Yeah.
And I have to go think about my feelings for the next 3 months on tour.
Yeah.
I do not feel confident in saying this is a Shona song.
No.
But I don't feel confident in
outright ruling it out.
In ruling it right out.
Right.
Out.
Right out. Yeah, to me, it certainly doesn't feel the level of sexiness that he puts into it makes me feel it's possibly a Shona song, but the underlying tension.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel quite as sweet as every potential Shona song has been up until this point.
I know we haven't covered it yet, but for me, the Shona song is Bends Like a Willow.
That's such a good song.
And it has some of those juxtapositions.
Okay.
When I'm caustic and cold, she might dare to be bold, bring me down to her soft way of thinking.
When I'm caustic and cold, she might dare to be bold, ease me round to her warm way of thinking.
So that you have that antitheses, that antithetical statement, which we do get here. This also reminds me of Spinal Tap. You've got the two lead singers, and at one point they're talking about them like, yeah, I'm like the fire and he's like the ice.
Yes,
it's so silly.
God, it's so good.
We're very lucky in the sense that we've got two visionaries in the band. David and Nigel are both like poets, like Shelley or Byron or people like that. The two totally distinct types of visionaries. It's like fire and ice, basically. You see, I feel my role in the band is to be kind of in the middle of that, kind of like lukewarm water.
But with Bends Like a Willow, those instances of juxtaposition still culminate in a clear understanding of a relationship and for lack of a better term, like a good result. Whereas this one is so amorphous.
And so focused on, she does this thing that I don't like, and so I'm going to run away.
Right. But I have to come back.
It's it's a lot of contradictions and a lot of kind of looped logic or looped experience.
Looped. It's very looped.
It's so looped. Yeah, he says, I'm not running away from that hardliner. Now, I don't think we can stay in the same town.
So she has to go?
This town's not big enough for the both of us. This relationship's not big enough for the both of us.
Swaying masthead lights.
Yeah.
Is that a euphemism?
Ooh.
For bosoms?
Wow. I mean, sure. It could be.
He remembers it fondly. I mean, that's when he's talking about, the red hair, the restaurants, the swaying masthead lights. Ian has proven himself very sophomoric in times when you least expect it.
That's true. A masthead light is a white light placed over the fore and aft central line of the vessel, showing an unbroken light over the arc of the horizon of 225 degrees, and so fixed as to show the light from right ahead to 22.5 degrees abaft the beam on either side of the vessel. So it's the...
I learned nothing from that.
It's on a ship, you've got the red light, the green light. Those are port and starboard, or starboard and port, rather. The white light is the center light, and that's the masthead light.
Okay.
So boats, I think maybe to me, it just conjures an image of like restaurants by the seashore, vacation, seeing the the lights on the water.
Okay.
Swaying masthead lights.
Pendulous masthead lights.
If that's the metaphor, which let's just entertain, let's suspend our disbelief for a second, then it would be more accurate to say swaying port and starboard navigation lights.
Does not scan. Omen. Does not scan.
Her bobbing buoys guiding me into port.
The double-lensed lighthouse.
Nick McGill.
Omen.
Hi.
Omen, what are we doing next week?
Next week, I am so excited to tell you that we are getting back into the official timeline.
Yes, indeed.
We are getting all the way up to 1995.
Yeah, a big jump. This is our biggest stretch between albums at this point, from 91 to 95.
Yes.
I think 2 years has been the most up until this point.
Yes. An extraordinary album, one that both of us are a little less familiar with, but really excited to dive into it. This is 1995's Roots to Branches.
Track 1, the titular track, Roots to Branches. So we are back into the run of things. It is a scant 11 and no bonus tracks. So we're just going to jump right in, and that'll take us from the end of July to the start of October. By gummy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Until next week, Nick McGill. I keep on drinking that non-alcoholic beer I'm Omen Thomas Sade.
I have failed many a time to cross Niagara on a tightrope. I am Nick McGill.
Don't cut our wire with a feckless momes.
And this is both ice and fire. It's Talk Tell to Me.
Welcome back to Niagara Channel 15 News. I'm Skid McDinda, and I'm joined here by my counterpart, France Albony. France, tell the good folks about what brings us here today.
Thanks, Skid. Thank you very much. If you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, we are watching halfway through the tightrope trek of one Nick Wallenda as he attempts to cross the Niagara Falls.
France, this is a pretty momentous occasion. We've been covering this. We've been asking ourselves for the last 100 years, when would someone successfully walk across Niagara? I am sitting here with a bucket full of buffalo wings Anxiety eating my way through this grueling hour-long traverse. There is spray spraying everywhere, both from the falls and from my wings.
Skid, I'll let me direct your eyes downward. I see the Maid of the Mist hovering there, floating, getting absolutely covered in water, but they are looking up at Nick Wallenda. They want that front row footage if he were to plummet to his doom.
They also want the TikTok street cred of being able to do a Fortnite dance with him in the background, even though he will look like just a speck. His rig is pretty incredible there, Francis. He's got a harness which allows him to hold his pole, his giant long pole, very effectively. Really momentous.
It is great. Oh, he's stopping. Skid, do you see this? He's stopping.
I'm checking my notes here, France. I do see that he's stopped. We did have him have to have a little snacky poo about 10 minutes ago, but this stop is not scheduled. It looks like he's talking to someone. Can you see out of your binoculars, France?
I believe... Looks like he has a walkie-talkie. This is the first we're hearing that he has any sort of communication from anyone.
Yeah. France, you may not know this about me, but I know how to read lips. France, check out this card here, right here. Check out my qualification here. I'm a master lip reader.
I see that, Skid. That is very impressive. I've known you for 30 years, and I've never learned this about you.
We've been on the air for 30 years.
I was your best man. I am the godfather to your children, and I still did not know this about you, Skid.
Man's got to have hobbies. Okay, so I'm reading his lips now through my telescope, and it looks like he's saying, don't cut the wire for the love of God, no. Oh my God. Why are you even here? I'm not sure if this is some sort of a circus code. We know that he does come from the circus.
That's very strange. I don't know if cut the wire is some sort of signal for something. Is he possibly in distress? He certainly seems in distress, Skid.
Now, I'm just getting a feed here from our Canadian news team. It took a while because they had to...
They use metric system.
They use the metric system. It took a while because they used the metric system, but we're now getting a live feed of what appears to be a gorgeous bombshell of a redhead holding a hacksaw and really going to town on some equipment over there on the Canadian side.
Very strange, Skid. I see nobody moving to stop her. Everybody over there, those Canadians are so gosh darn nice that nobody is going to interfere with this. This crazed woman seems to be cutting the line of Nick Wallenda.
Crazed and yet calm, an icy cold logic staring out of her eyes. A policeman is coming up to her. She's offering him a drink.
Okay.
He's taken it, and he's turned into a frog.
Oh, wow. My God. She has a witch's brew, ladies and gentlemen.
She's got a witch's brew, and the momery of it all.
Oh, dear God. That's a great time to bring up our sponsors. This event has been brought to you by the podcast Talk Tull to Me. Talk Tull to Me, Skid.
That's right, France. Big supporters of us, big donors, and of course they are a proud member of the Feckless Moms Audio Network.
Oh, my God!
Oh, dear! Oh, God!
He's falling.
Look at it! Canada will never recover from this tragedy.
He's still falling, Skid. He's still going.
Maple syrup all over the place.
When will he hit?